Okay, it's 3 minutes past the hour, so I assume people will continue to join in. But in the interest of keeping appropriate time, we're going to get started. This is the Kingdom Armored Marshals meeting. It is for all existing and future at-large, local, regional, principality, and kingdom marshals. And we're going to do the overview. Let's see if I can get to it to where it actually. There we go. So the meeting overview is basically we're going to cover greetings and hi, I'm Sonia. I'm the Kingdom Armored Marshal Deputy. We're then also going to cover armored combat marshal offices that are open for applications. I know we're all interested in that. And then we're also going to cover, for full transparency, the standard operating procedure for filling marshal office positions. I know that there's some confusion and there's some questions about like time delays and what's next and all of that. So there is a SOP for that, and that was created, that was provided. It's new as of March 2026, which I guess is not really all that new, but we're going to cover that and go through that so everyone has an understanding of the considerations and the time that is involved in filling the marshal office positions. And then we're going to cover some things in the Kingdom Armored Marshal Handbook. The most current version, which is the November 2025 version that went into effect December 23rd, 2025. And there's some clarifications that and common things that seem to come up regarding interpretation and stuff. So we have some clarifications for you regarding like chin straps on helms, some hand protection, and lanyards and finger triggers. And then at the end, we'll have some discussions and Q&A. I don't know if His Excellency was able to join us. I think he was on a plane. So he messaged me earlier to make sure that a discussion topic was brought up regarding shield edges. And we'll get into that in just a moment for a discussion just before the first thing for the discussions and Q&A options. All right, so there we go. Do I need to stop sharing? Okay, so I assume that I'm all right. So there are some offices that are open, and I know Sir Epsilon, you're online, our Earl Marshal. If you can chime in on some of the things that offices that may be opening up or scheduling to open up that I am not aware of yet, or the office is not aware of, that would be great. The first one is the Kingdom Armored Marshal office is open for applications. Notification and announcement went out about the office being open in June 30th. It will be open for 30 days. So the application open for applications until July 30th. And then that will close. And then the next step in the SOP will then proceed. Also, the Southern Regional Night Marshal position is also open. That was also posted on June 30th. So it's open for applications until July 30th. And then after that, then the next step in the SOP will take place. Those are and then there's some, I have received some applications for local offices. I wanted to mention in the past, the past several months, I'll say in 2026, there has been an unfortunate delay in reviewing applications and getting positions filled. And that was due to um, a a technical unknown issue that is now known, so we can fix it. The unknown issue was if you were applied for an office using going through the website and applying for the office, by default, the Kingdom Armored Marshal email w- was not included. Um, so we were unaware that somebody was applying for the office because we never received the application. Um, Especially, and if the regional office was open or vacant, uh, we don't have access to those emails. So again, those applications were unknown. Um, in order to rectify that, I will be working, and we will be working with the appropriate people. I believe it's maybe I'm not sure if it's the web secretary or the web minister or somebody. I'm working on the process of tracking it down to make sure that the appropriate email addresses are going in to the applications by default. Um, but since they're not, in order for us to receive applications as it is today, when you apply, and please inform anybody who's interested in applying, when you apply for the office, in the application, there is a section where it's other email addresses to be sent the application. Please add the Kingdom Armored Marshal email address and the Earl Marshal email address to your application. That way, if you state it in your application, we will then receive it. So it's not, as of right now, it's not part of one of the defaults for the local branches, because the local branches filter up to the regionals. And we haven't been receiving them. So just, and I want to thank those who inquired, and for the Senechals also who inquired about some applications that have been outstanding or haven't heard word, that made us discover that we weren't receiving them. So thank you for that. Now, regarding those applications, I'll share my screen. Let's try to share a screen again for the approval process, or the standard operating procedure now for marshals. And this is the marshal approval. This is not just Kingdom Armored Marshal. So you'll see some wording in here that could be maybe a little bit vaguer, more vague, but it's more generalized. So can someone just confirm that the screen is scrolling? I want to make sure that
it's good.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so this is our standard operating procedure for it. The office must be open for applications for a minimum of 30 days. There must be at least one applicant to apply. The application period must formally close. And the applications are reviewed at the appropriate levels. For the first level, if you're applying or have applied for a local office, it is then your regional that then looks at and has the lead on these. So the application is reviewed. If the local office is in a barony, then the local landed nobility will be reached out to for their commentary. Landed nobility does have a veto authority on applications, so we must communicate with them and get their feedback to give them the opportunity to veto or not, and just also to keep them aware of what is going on within their group. So that stuff we need to make sure that, as again, if the local office is in a barony, if you are an independent shire, then it's just your local seneschal that is informed. The seneschals do not have veto rights. It's just the landed nobility, but the seneschals and the landed nobility need to be aware of every application. Then there's the verify the applicant use, that they passed all the required exams. Armored combat does have an exam. It's an open book exam. Um, I need to work with, and I think maybe it's the Marshal Secretary, that the Earl Marshal informed me of, to get the most recent updated version, so that the updated version is online for the individuals to take online. Right now, I think the current version that is there is from the non-society updated rules pre November 2025. So I do have to get an updated exam to the Marshal Secretary. Um, so I
Uh,
think,
Marshall Secretary says not her, maybe Web Secretary.
okay, thank you. And I will make that note, because that was one of my issues, is I wasn't sure who to reach out to. So thank you for that information.
Well, at least ever that I've been told, there is a chance there's a lack of information on my side. So feel free to reach out to me if they say otherwise, and I'll start digging.
Thank you. Um, and again, that exam, it's an um, open book exam, but you need to pass it, um, which is fine. Um, then, if you're applying for a regional office, it is then and we'll say for the regional armored marshal, uh, the Kingdom Armored Marshal will review the application, and um, and again, it passed the exam. If there's I have not been a regional before, so I'm not sure if there is a regional exam or not, but I will also do the same check and same checks for that, for if there is a regional exam or not, to take. There may or may not be. Um, and um, Now, the next section, the Deputy Earl Marshal review. So a deputy would be the Kingdom Armored Marshal, this current, this Sir Cormac's office, currently, and all the other, like the Kingdom Rapier Marshal, Kingdom C&T, if C&T is not underneath a deputy of the deputy to the Rapier Marshal. Not sure on that one. But the Earl Marshal then reviews that, and also this discipline specific society marshal is also one of those reviewers. And again, any exam, if there is one, that they deem necessary. So the review, you would approve or disapprove it, and then upon approval, notification process. So we would then notify, email notifications go to the applicant, the next level in the chain of command, the local B&B in Seneschal, the Marshal and Secretary, and the Earl Marshal. And then a public announcement to the email list or social media platforms. Social media platforms are Discord, Facebook. There may be others that I'm aware of, but I know those are the ones Ansteorra has and is approved to use.
Hey, if I can interject real quick.
Absolutely.
Marshal exam is the same for everybody. If you're going to become a marshal at all, you have to pass the exam. At this time, it is very outdated, and that is work in progress, as you've heard. But once you take the marshalate exam, there isn't going to be a different one for each tier of marshalate.
Thank you for clarifying that. And then, so once then approved, then AMP comes into play. Only the Earl Marshal can add an applicant to AMP, and they will not add an applicant until all of the above standard operating procedures have been followed and completed. And so, let's see. So the basic summary is the office opens up, has to be greater than 30 days, or at least 30 days. Applications are received, application period closes, reviews are conducted, and that's where the other communications come into play, reaching out to those who need to be informed, and their feedback is required. Approval or disapproval is issued, notifications are sent, then a public announcement is made, and then the information gets added to AMP, and then Crown has approval finalizing it in AMP just to make sure. So I don't know if this is new for most of you to have seen it. But that is our standard operating procedure. And there, you'll notice that there isn't really timelines given because the communication process depends on others communicating and then thinking and then reviewing and then getting back and stuff. So, and that can vary from person to person, office to office. So that's why there's not specific timeframes on that. And let's see. I have to go back to see my overview to see what's next. Okay. So the Kingdom Armored Marshal Combat Handbook. That version is currently it's the most recent version is the November 2025 version that went into effect December 23rd, 2025. So more than 7 months ago. And let me share my screen again. Now, we are, Ansteorra follows Society, the Society Armored Combat Rattan Handbook, with the exception of one thing, an armor requirement that we require forearm protection where Society doesn't. So if you were to go to sca.org and look up the Armored Combat Rattan Handbook, the PDF version, which is this PDF version, this is Ansteorra's Rattan Handbook. We just have one addendum that we do require the protection, forearm protection for the bone. Other than that, you follow that. On the website, if you go to sca.org and then the martial activities and then armored combat, and you'll see there's a web option to click on the handbook, the web version. You can click on that and bring up the web version for the Society, because that's the one we follow. If you happen to then see Ansteorra's and click on Ansteorra's, it is saying it is in progress. It is updated. There are some updates and tweaks and fidgeting that we need to do and get training on and to load for the wiki to bring Ansteorra's Armored Handbook. When you click on the Kingdom of Ansteorra, it comes up with Society, but with also the one addendum that Ansteorra also has in one place. But the current web version, if you click on that now, it's going to say it's a work in progress and not there. We do have rules. They are here. They are in play. It is Society's. But so the PDF version is going to be the way you're going to want to go to have the most recent version as of right now for that. The website through the sca.org will be updated. It is just not updated yet. So there's that.
I just shared the links to the Armored Combat PDF, as well as the link to Society's page in the chat. So
thank you. Yeah. Now, along those lines, so yep. So we're going to get into it. This is the PDF version that we're looking at, and the first question that came up in this rule, it was regarding helms, and it says, your helm needs a chin strap. And then it says a snug fit is not an equivalent. Well, that was interpreted as, if you have a closed face locking helm with a pin that is a snug fit to your helm, that it doesn't come off, that was considered a snug fit, which is stated here as not an equivalent. The Earl Marshal, in discussions with the Society Armored Marshal and the Society Earl Marshal, have determined that a locking pin, if your helm has a locking pin, and that's not under the category of snug fit, that falls under an other equivalent. So it is good. So you do not need a chin strap on helms that have the locking plate and pins.
I always refer to it as a steel chin strap.
There you go. So
like locking cheek plates as
yes.
they come down, locking cheek plates.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
If
I'm building
can
a helm,
interject
that's why I
real
was asking.
quick. I actually met with the Society Earl Marshal and the Society Armored Marshal on this one, and generally speaking, the ones with the locking chin plates have like a metal lip that kind of forms up underneath the chin, and therefore does meet that requirement and that intent in the rule book.
And no bever needed, a bevor bever needed.
For the ones that have the locking chin plate, the metal chin straps with the pin, correct, as long as it's up under, I mean, it doesn't have to be to the back of your throat or anything, but as long as it does come, as Epsilon just stated, that it comes under the chin, which meets the requirements, then no other additional requirement armor is required to meet that requirement. I said the requirement way too much.
Yeah, basically, it can't be directly lifted off the head. And that's what they're trying to avoid, is people going out on the list field without a chin strap or anything, going, well, it fits pretty tight, but it's still available to be pulled off their head without any restrictions whatsoever. At least with the locking chin plates, you have to unlock the chin plates to be able to remove the helm.
And if I do have a question on that. I saw one recently where the helmet had locking cheek plates and it shifted forward as he looked up. So I don't know if everybody can see me. So it gave bear here, like under the chin against the throat. Would that be considered a legal helmet, or do we need a bever, or how would that roll? And that's actually the question that I saw the list. The question that I wanted to ask is, we look up right here.
Since we have the Earl Marshal here, I will let him comment on that.
That is not covered in the rules. That is not required location for protection. Under normal circumstances, they should not be able to get a rattan shot up to that position. But if it is available to thrust, it's available to thrust. That is not a required covered spot, unlike like the gorget, things of that nature.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay. The next statement that has been a comment that has come through a lot is regarding hand protection for single-handed swords that have that have a basket hilt. We've seen like in the past where somebody has either a leather demi gauntlet that is used. According to the rules, the most recent rules, those leather demi gauntlets or rigid material has to be lined with some foam or some padding. It cannot just be the bare strip of leather. And it has to cover the knuckles and to the first knuckle of the thumb. And then that is the demi gauntlet is if you have like a basket hilt, a full gauntlet if you don't have a basket hilt and you're using a gauntleted hand for your weapon. But the whole hand has to be covered either through the mechanism of the basket hilt on the sword and the demi gauntlet and wrist protection. I know that is that previously has been where it was just a strip of leather or metal, but there needs to be some padding between the leather and the hand, at least up to the first knuckle of the thumb. Hockey gloves, ice hockey gloves are considered, heavy padding, obviously. So that's why they encourage using something else, but it meets the requirements. Street hockey gloves have less padding and are thinner and lighter, but they do meet the requirement for the padding if you then stick a piece of leather over it, or a rigid material over it, that the street hockey gloves can count as the padding for the hand protection. So the idea is to make sure that in some way and through some combination that the entire hand is protected. There any questions on that? I know that was a concern that kept coming up at golf, for example, and that's when the rules were still very, very new. So we had to check that out. All right, let me go to some chat to see. Let me see.
I did have a question on that.
Okay.
I'm Christoph Hugerbon Augsburg. I'm from Eldon Hills. So what used to be considered light demis, like the leather has to be, according to our current rules, rigid protection, as prescribed what rigid protection is, and padded up beyond the top of the knuckles.
The first knuckle.
The first knuckle.
Right.
Like when you make a fist, the first knuckle?
Yeah, this first knuckle, because these,
Okay.
if it's in a basket hilt sword, these knuckles are protected by the basket hilt.
Yes, ma'am.
This what they're talking to the first knuckle. So these.
I did see one recently that I wasn't real sure about. Now, I'm not an armored marshal at this point. I am a rapier marshal. But I saw one recently that was only to the back of the hand, and I was like, I don't know about that. So that's why I'm asking, just to clarify.
Yes.
That's what I thought it was. It's got to go past the first knuckle.
Yes.
Whether it's leather or metal or plastic or the rigid protection, it still has to be padded on the back of the hand past the first knuckle.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. I do appreciate it. I'm sorry if I'm sounding real loud because I'm on my laptop and it just, my speakers suck.
It's good. It is. I hear you perfectly clear, which is wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep. Are there any other questions on that?
The
Senator
Seneca
Shaw.
of Borderwatch has their hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, so in not specifically that, but the addition of the center grip shield requiring bars or plates preventing a blow from striking the fingers or the back of your hand. none of those additional requirements covering the, knuckles or anything like that cover the fingers. So are we requiring for a center grip shield full gauntlets at this point?
Let's go to, I mean, to make sure that it is protected in, that the hand in some form is protected, but let me go to.
Because I know they took out the 4-inch rule last time.
Right, the 4 inches from the edge, yeah.
Right.
And we don't have a thumb guard rule. Am I correct on that? We don't have a thumb guard rule where you have to have a plate to protect the thumb.
So the section under your hand protection states your thumb and your fingers have to be covered
Right.
if you're not using a shield basket, which you don't have on a center grip.
But is a boss considered a basket?
Not according to the way it's written under the hand protection.
Thank you, sir.
And that's why I'm asking, because I've been fighting center grip shield forever. I can't
have
find
to.
gauntlets that fit in mine, and I don't want to necessarily cut it out and add a larger boss, but if I have to, I have to.
But I have a boss and I have a thumb protection, but I don't have like fingertip protection. So as
Right.
my hand grips the grip, my fingertips are not covered by a plate, but I do have a thumb.
It's a demi gauntlet, and it's not
Yes.
full gauntlets. It's just a demi gauntlet. If you do not have a shield boss on your on the inside of the shield, so the intent is any shots that get in around the shield to come down and possibly break fingers, like I've accidentally almost done to a couple folks.
I've gotten hit
And that's
once or
what I
twice.
thought
get
it was. Demi gauntlet versus boss. You've got to have a demi gauntlet and a boss. I understand his question.
So, if I may, I've started adding basically a half wall on the inside of my center grips, so that it basically creates like a little dam opposite of the demi, so it protects my fingertips. It's easily done out of barrel plastic and a couple of little brackets. Recommended. I don't know if it's required though, but sure helpful.
On that, I have also a little half wall. You can buy one at Plastic Smith Armory, and they just sell in 2 different sizes. You can just drill a hole and place it on the right on the inside of the shield boss, on the inside of the shield. It has stopped more than one shots touching my fingers when they come too deep when I'm fighting with the center grip.
Highly recommended, especially if you have people that are aggressive fighters with their own shield.
But they're not required.
If I understand what the Earl Marshal said, I would agree with that statement. Yes.
Fighters can add more armor and have more modification and have more protection than the armored requirements. Just can't have less.
Correct. The minimum armor requirement isn't going to completely stop an injury. It reduces the chance of a severely debilitating injury down to an acceptable percentage chance. I always recommend more than what the book requires.
Okay. Any other? I have the chats up. Okay. I see. I think I'm all caught up on the messages. Yep, the last one was just 1 minute ago. So now we're going to move on to, and I'm going to just stop sharing because we're going to move on to lanyards and finger triggers. It states that there needs to be a mechanism in place to prevent a sword from flying out of someone's hand during a bout, and for example, like flying out and hitting an audience member. Say you're doing a demo, and that is usually most likely done and handled by a lanyard, which is a string or thong or whatever mechanism around your wrist and around your sword. So if you lose your sword, it only goes as far as the string and the lanyard. The Earl Marshal, again, has discussed and has reviewed finger triggers counting as the equivalent like of a lanyard to prevent the sword from going out, with the Society Armored Marshal and Society Earl Marshal. And finger triggers are considered an equivalent to the lanyard. So if you have a sword that has a finger trigger that you use, then you do not need a lanyard on that sword. The finger trigger is the equivalent of a lanyard for purposes. So that was just a recent clarification that was brought to attention that we needed to make sure we identified, because it very easily can be construed either way. I mean, I know that some individuals are like, well, finger triggers aren't really to prevent it from the sword from flying out. It's more for like a control or to get an angle for the actual strategy of the bout, which is true, but it also prevents the sword from flying out. So it also covers in that regard. So are there...
If I may interrupt real quick, keep in mind that there are exceptions to it. For like a secondary weapon, things of that nature, there is no requirement for a lanyard or a trigger for those. So if you're a spear fighter who likes to have a backup weapon, the lanyard or trigger is not required for those, and that is in the rules.
Yeah, so your primary weapon.
We do have a comment from Kajira in the chat.
Oh, that's just for whenever you're done.
Oh,
at the end.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's if you have anything more on lanyards, then I don't. This is not related to what you're talking about. It's just a FYI to the group.
Okay. I do not have anything more on lanyards. Does anybody have any questions?
I would like to ask. In the Barony of the Hills, we have kind of a thing going recently. It's a single finger trigger versus a double finger trigger. So at this point, there is no clarification on single finger, so index finger versus two fingers. Am I correct on that?
Yes. Does the trigger, when either one finger is used or two fingers are used, if one finger, does it prevent the sword from flying out of the hand if control is lost?
So how do we test that as a marshal? Or do we test that just out of curiosity? Because I've never tested it. I never thought of it until now. I mean,
There's
got
no
one
reason
finger.
to test it.
I'm sorry?
There is no reason to test it. If it is in the rules and they're following the rules, then everything is fine.
Okay. Cool. Not a biggie. I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay. I think that covers the lanyards and finger triggers. Kajir?
Yeah, Runa was asking on Madhu's. I know Rabbit wears a lanyard on his Madhu, but official response for her.
It's a one-handed weapon.
It is a one-handed weapon. I was going to pull up and look through the rules real quick, but I know Epsilon, since you're here and I don't make people dizzy by scrolling while I look it up, can you comment?
Technically speaking, he is correct. It is a single-handed weapon. Most folks use a trigger, and either a trigger or a lanyard would work perfectly. Me personally would recommend a trigger in lieu of a lanyard, simply because of the nature of the weapon and the availability of it getting hung up or snagged on your weapon or your opponent's armor and weapons.
Agreed. The only pickle that we've had regarding Madhu's needing a lanyard or a trigger was at Cornet, the previous Cornet. And then we handled it. It got sorted out. There was no issues going forward as far as I was aware.
Yeah, that has been addressed and taken care of. We have gotten the clarification from society that triggers do count as equivalent of an equivalent to a lanyard for the restriction of the single-handed weapon to fly out of the hands if control is lost.
Okay. Are you good for me to do my blurb right quick?
I am.
All right. So right quick, I just wanted to give a quick reminder to everybody. My name is Kajira Camber. If you don't know me, I'm currently the Marshal Secretary, and I just like to give reminders since there's so many authorizing people on this call, or there's so many officers on this call, just a reminder for AMP. For you to be a warranted officer and to be able to be selected as an authorizing marshal, you have to have AMP updated with your membership number and expiration date. So check it out. If it's expiring soon, make sure and just hit that submit membership card so we can update your expiration date so you don't have any lapses or people can't find you to sign them off. Just make sure that whoever submits that, it has to include your name, membership number, and the expiration date for us to update that. It's very quick and easy to do. You don't have to email us anymore. And but this is mainly just a reminder that if you are an authorizing marshal or an officer of any type, check out that date, get it updated so you don't have any issues down the road and be curious of why somebody can't select you. So that's it.
I have a question regarding that actually. So I noticed in the on the Kingdom webpage where it mentioned that your membership has to be valid through January 2027 in order for you to be warranted. Because I guess that's the next roundtable where the next series of warrants happen. If you're, does a person automatically lose? I'm trying this. So there's an example where there is an officer, his membership expires December 30th, 2026, not January 2027. So is his warrant going to be renewed at this roundtable or not? He's a paid member through December 30th, 2026.
If there's an AMP secretary on here, just to clarify, my assumption just from seeing how activities happen is that they get warranted, but as soon as their membership is shown as expired, then they lose that capability inside of AMP. And so they might need their warrant resubmitted, which is a click of the button, but get resubmitted to, there's Kingdom Land Minister. They may know more officially than I do.
Yeah. No, actually, I was going to say you described it absolutely perfectly. In order for the warrants to be submitted, your membership has to be up to date, like it has to be current. So if Earl is submitting his roster today, if your membership is up to date, today, he can submit that. But as soon as your expiration date passes in AMP, you lose all of the extra permissions associated with either your like as an authorizing marshal or as an officer. So the system won't release you from your position, but you won't be able to approve authorizations. You'll lose, if you've got as an officer be able to update warrants, you'll lose all the extra permissions until your warrant is resubmitted and renewed.
Okay.
And if there's additional questions on that, I'm happy to find.
So every warranting period as a roundtable, we have to do we have to resubmit our warrants or not our warrants? Do we have to resubmit our memberships?
No, you only need to submit your membership when you've renewed, so that AMP will have the most up-to-date expiration date for you.
And Kajira did try to guide me, and I just misunderstood. So it wasn't her fault. That's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
Yeah, and to help clarify the process, the way it works is each greater officer of state has to go through into AMP. They have to generate that roster that's coming up. anybody who their data is not up to date, like their warrant or their membership on file expired, their name is flagged in red, and we can't renew your warrants until that gets corrected. And I will do my best to stop telling everybody with expired dates to just go ahead and email the AMP secretary, and I will start sending them the link to AMP in order for them to follow the correct process for submitting that data so it can get updated in AMP.
Thank you, good sir.
Okay. So I think this is time now to, as we have just a little bit of time left, to go into the discussions and the Q&A. I don't know if Brynjolf is on the, he said he was going to try, but he is flying, so he might not be able to attend this meeting. Brynjolf had brought to our attention that he wants, yes, I saw a hand go. Alex?
Sorry. Yes, hi, this is Sigwin, the Night Marshal of Pringlod. I know you had discussed, we've discussed privately, and you mentioned earlier in this presentation about the Ansteorra specific rulebook being kept up to date. Per previous discussions, I want it noted that as a kingdom, we have a tradition of having fiberglass spears be a separate authorization from heavy marshals, which is not a thing that persisted when the old, when the Society rulebook and the Ansteorra rulebook were sort of merged together, as it were. So when the new Ansteorra rulebook gets up there, the current Society rulebook mentions that we as a kingdom can choose, and I would ask that be clarified and chosen. Because I think fiberglass authorization is probably a good thing we should have. We just need it written down somewhere.
Okay. Yes, we've had the discussion. We started that discussion, but even pre-12-4 and at 12-3.
Yeah, this just felt like the right form to reiterate and make sure that was next up.
Absolutely. Alush, I saw that your hand was up. Did you want to cover what the shield and Pavises was going to be?
Yeah, I had a feeling it was about me. I was the one that it happened to, so I can explain it. So we were concerned because we couldn't find anywhere in writing about a lot of because I use the shield, the center grip shields, and some of the other ones have a thinner edging on it now, and all the edging, the thinner edgings are now smaller than an inch and a quarter. So at a practice, I did have a shield come into my eye slot because I have a closed face helm. And it came into my eye slot and touched my eye. I did not get injured in any way other than I had a bruise on my nose. But it was a 1 in a million shot. But I realized that when I told that story, somebody else mentioned it too in the last year or so. So Brynjolf got concerned about that because if it's happening to 2 people in just one kingdom, it's probably happening other places. So I don't know if there needs to be something about a shield, the width of the shield edging, or it mandatory. To be fair, I don't have a nose plate straight in the middle of my closed face because it's it's just a slot. But he was concerned for that, and we just wanted to kind of bring it up so that people were aware of it, because we move our shields around, so it does accidentally happen. So.
Right. And if I'm sharing my screen appropriately, I did bring up this is the current rules regarding the shields must be edged in leather. Again, it does not mention anything about the width of the leather or the padding covering the shield edge. It just mentions that if it has a sharp edge is 9 degrees or more, it must be rounded. And then so it does not mention anything about shield requirement thickness, shield edging thickness requirements are not in there. So I'm just just for an informational thing, this is what the rules, what is on your screen is what the current rules are regarding the shields. And
what's considered to be a sharp edge? Just out of curiosity, if you don't mind me asking.
90 degrees.
Okay.
Sir, please don't forget to raise your hand. We do have other people who've been waiting in the chat and who have their hand raised.
Apologies.
Okay, and my apologies for not monitoring the chat appropriately enough.
It's in the top right corner where it shows who has their hands up. You may not be aware of that.
Oh, yep. They are Knight Marshal of Bjornsburg.
So on this particular subject, my thought is actually check the spacing on the helmet itself, because I think she might need a center bar, because I think if it's just a straight line of opening, I think that's where the problem was in that incident.
Right. Yeah, the spacing on the helm is the measurement required is 1 inch between bar grills and spacing. So
mine does. We checked it because we were up for that. I don't disagree that I should also. We're adding a center so it doesn't happen again. But it was just something we thought we'd bring up because
it's not just up and down, it's left and right as well.
The oops all corner shields, you can put a pretty thin edging on it, and it can get into most people's if they don't have a center piece on there.
Yeah, that's why the requirement is right and left as well as up and down.
So, any other discussion or commentary on that? I did inform His Excellency that we would be discussing it. So, just wanted to mention that. If there is nothing more on that, then it is open up to any other questions or answers for either myself, Sir Cormac, or the Earl Marshal, why we're take advantage of why he's here. Okay. So there, yay. So I wanted to kind of just mention from the society martial handbooks and stuff. The armored combat handbook was the first one that was released. They are now scheduled to release the rapier handbook and a C&T handbook. And that release date is September 22nd. You will notice, and I don't want there to necessarily be any panic, but when those are updated on September 22nd, everything is going to get that timestamp of September 22nd being updated, meaning the rattan handbook will also have an updated date of September 22nd, 2026. That does not mean that there are changes. It also does not mean that there aren't. There is a very nifty change log that is included that shows what the updates were between the last version and the current version, so you can see if they're so after September 22nd. Please check out the Kingdom Armored. As far as I'm aware, I don't think there are any changes other than that the Marshall Handbook is just going to be refreshed and with the then at the same time as the Rapier Marshall and the C&T Marshall handbooks. So it'll have a new timestamp. So instead of looking for November 2025, it'll say September 22nd, 2026. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And let's see. Again, if there For those who do have open applications in that did receive a response from the Kingdom Armored Marshal email about the in progress and being reviewed, I apologize for not communicating to you. I will be sending out the email communication of the next step of where it is, and that is in the, I don't know if you want to call it commentary phase, but the